This time in Goss's Garage, I want to give you some pointers about an often overlooked part in the air conditioning system. Now, when you have an air conditioning problem where the refrigerant leaks out, well, when that refrigerant leaks out, it's replaced by air, and air has moisture in it, and you can't have any moisture inside an air conditioning system. Because if you do, the moisture combines with chemicals in the refrigerant and the oils and so on and produces acids, and these acids can damage things like the reed valves in the compressor. So that could lead to some major repairs. So what is this overlooked part? Well, it's called a receiver dryer, or on some cars it's called an accumulator. Now, why is it important? Well, here we have one, and this is what it looks like in real life. Most of them are pretty much the same. But when you look at this inside, you see something that you normally expect only to see in a new box of some type of electronic parts or something like that. This is desiccant. It's a moisture absorbent, and it's in this little bag in here, and it absorbs any moisture that manages to get into the system with the air. All right, now, what is the rule here? Well, the rule is if the system has been open for more than a couple of hours, then you need to put a new receiver dryer or accumulator on. Wherever the desiccant resides, that part has to be replaced if you want the air conditioning to live a long and healthy life. All right, now, suppose you don't, you just recharge it and so on. Well, sooner or later, you're going to get damage from the moisture in the system because this can only hold so much moisture. The second thing that happens is that over time, if you leave these in the system too long, this bag will rupture, and it's full of little pellets of this desiccant, and that gets distributed throughout the system. It blocks passages, it does all kinds of things, which can lead to some very expensive repairs. So the ideal thing, whenever you have a system, an air conditioning system that is opened up and it's full of air and you do a repair, maybe it needs a new hose or a new fitting or something like that, once you're done with it, or before you're done with it actually, you need to install a new receiver dryer or accumulator. Now the next thing that is typically forgotten here is that there has to be a way to get any moisture out of that system before you put refrigerant back in. Now, this is where do-it-yourself doesn't really work. So how do you go about getting rid of moisture in the system that got in there from the air? Well, you put a vacuum pump on the air conditioning system and you pull a vacuum inside the system and you hold that vacuum for an hour or longer, depending on how long the system has been open and so on. You know, maybe you had a leak in the system in September and you say, okay, well, it's getting near cold weather, so I'm not going to bother with it till spring. Well, you would have to pump down the system for a lot longer if it has been without refrigerant for a long period of time. Now, what does this do? Well, we pull a vacuum on it. That is negative pressure. Now, the lower that negative pressure, the lower the boiling point of any water in that system. So we drop the pressure down. We hope to see like 29 inches of vacuum. That's what our vacuum pump does. And at that vacuum level, water will boil. It'll turn into a vapor at room temperature. Then the vacuum pump, as it continues to run, pulls that moisture out of the system. So you look at these two steps, the receiver dryer and the vacuuming, the negative pressure in the system to get rid of moisture, they're both vital steps, and they're often overlooked They're always overlooked by do-it-yourselfers and often overlooked by technicians. So make sure you understand what the importance of all of this is, because later on it could cost you an $800 or $1,000 compressor or other major repairs. So keep that in mind if you need air conditioning work. New receiver dryer and pump the system down to get rid of moisture. And if you have a question or a comment, drop me a line right here at radio@goss-garage.com.